There was a question over there long ago.
Oh,
Sorry.
First, I just wanted to say I visited North Carolina State a year or two ago, and I was struck by the signs. It was like, wow, these are cool signs. So just wanted to say that. And second, how do you go about choosing your fabricators, and do you establish long-term relationships with them that cross over from project to project?
Yeah, we've had one fabricator that we worked for 25 years. We've got a relationship, and they're a small fabricator. We've got a couple of them in New Jersey and Canada that we've worked with for a number of years that are very tight corporate, more corporate fabricators that are very tight in terms of their detailing and can handle bigger projects. We look at can they bring the resources to the table to bring all that together, because one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to, and we've done this before, is to educate an unqualified fabricator and struggle through the whole process and getting them to give us what is their best, but it's just totally unacceptable to us, and then go through that whole process because it's painful. So at the client gets a series of bids. We have the qualified fabricator at $500,000, and we have the unqualified fabricator at $250,000. Basically, it costs us probably an extra $100,000 to manage the guy who's submitted the $250,000 because he doesn't know what he's doing. So people like that don't know how to do a shop drawing. They basically take our design drawings, paste them on their format, send it back to us, and say, we're ready to build. And that's not acceptable. You need to give us some details. People that know what they're doing, and I think I may have some shop drawings in one of these packages here. They submit a series of details of how these things come together, just like when we visited with Josh the Solar Decathlon building, how he put those columns together in there, how those nuts are coming into that space. You know, what we thrive on is to have someone that knows more than we do and doesn't tell us, let's do it this way. It's cheaper for us to make more money this way. I don't care. I mean, what I really care about is getting treated fairly and having someone enlighten us and say, this is how we could do it, this is a better way to do it, and it's going to look better for what you're doing. And that's really fantastic. And the people that we found that's why we go back to those people, because they're very bright. They make suggestions that are going to make what we do better. And it doesn't matter as a designer, even as a product designer, any kind of designer, as a graphic designer, it doesn't matter how wonderful we've detailed all these things. And I just, when I first started in my career, it was just wonderful. You get these drawings and they're fantastic and you're so proud of it. And if somebody screws this thing up, this is worthless, because your product of what your reputation lies on is how this, in the case of a permanent museum, how it wear and tear on it, how it sits, how the quality of touch and feel in that space is going to happen immediately, but how that space is going to wear and tear over a 6-month, 12-month, 18-month period. You don't want this thing to fall apart and be a piece of crap after you've installed it, because that's, again, a reflection on what you have contributed to this environment. So that's why, again, that quality of that contractor is real important.
When you start a project, or actually before you start a project and get into the creative execution, do you have any kind of a format for gathering information, developing a research document, using something that you can then use as a template going forward and could justify some of the design decisions that you made?
I don't know if it's a template. I mean, again, in my I'm talking about methodology. In my education at IIT, the IIT education was extremely methodological. Chuck Owen, I don't know if you know Chuck at IIT, but Chuck just published a book on methodology. It's just coming out right now from IIT. That when you set up a rigor of how you collect information. For example, you saw in a diagram for Mayo Clinic. What we did was we turned the plan into a format that we could accept the information for those various pieces, so we could manage that various content. we use that as a way to communicate to the client. Let's say area 1 is the introductory area. Let's get all that information together. Let's get the interactive that's going to go there. What kind of screen do you want to use there? What kind of sound do we want there?
Well, that's after you've got kind of a plan or there's things.
Yeah.
Like that. But before you get to that, here's what we have a similar situation. Here's why I'm asking these questions. To get information at the front end that the client will agree to, or a number of people, target customers or whatever, that you gather information and then you start to see patterns that become ideas that will lead you to take them forward into whatever solution you're trying to develop. So you've got something to go on rather than in addition to whatever your own instincts might tell you.
Well, I mean, part of it, what do we do for that format? I don't know if we really necessarily do a format. We do some level of repeating back to the client what they're saying. We add to that. It's a narrative. It's a written narrative, so it's kind of a plan of sorts. It's basically like chapter outlines. I don't know if we do much more than that, really. It's not all emotionally based. It is collecting all let's say all the product lines that Georgia Pacific has. We wanted to know very clearly what product lines they're in. We found out that they had 5,000 different product lines. Then that gave us a beginning. We found out how do they distribute their products differently than they used to distribute their products. We found a management corporate repositioning plan of how they're going to change their business model from what they used to have of 100 distribution centers to 2, and how that's going to change. How that's going to change their response time, how it's going to change the fact that they used to have old Bob in the back room that knew the stuff in and out, and they've got Fred who just got an MBA and doesn't know crap about glulam beam.
It's kind of some sort of a document where they get a sense of you have a plan based on something.
It's a synopsis. It's kind of a synopsis document of what we were given from them. We respond back to them, and then we respond back we may respond on certain points if we don't know or we didn't get it from them. This is what we need responding back from you. So it's kind of a programming document of sorts to get them to say, yeah, this is the way we're going to go. And then, by the way, we got a certain amount of questions. What we do, again, this is in the later phases, we wind up doing a spreadsheet that has all those pieces in there, and then we have a comments column that says we need this by this and this date. So there's some kind of tracking of all these various pieces, but that's after.